ونستعين ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهديه الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. We continue inshallah ta'ala from the ayat from Surah Al-Baqarah, and last time we talked about the first 6 verses, ayat from Surah Al-Baqarah, that talks about the Quran and the characteristics of the believers. And the characteristics of the believers, those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided them at first by showing them what is right and what is wrong. And this is where it's called Hidayatul Bayan wal Irshad, and the guidance meaning presenting what is right and what is wrong. And this is what the Wahy do to the people, present to them what is right and what is wrong, because as we agreed that the human being do not have the capacity to know what is right and what is wrong. They need the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that they would follow the truth. And these characteristics, this is just some of the characteristics of the believers that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said after that, أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَىٰ هُدًى مِّن رَّبِّهِمْ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. These are the ones that have been guided from the Lord, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because guidance is only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are the successful ones. And that these verses is for us to know, and then we will definitely have to apply that. It becomes an evidence either against us or with us in the day of judgment. Every verse in the Quran that we hear, it's either going to be on our side interceding for us in the day of judgment, or it will be against the person in the day of judgment, and that's why we will be asked about the Quran. وَإِنَّهُ لَذِكْرٌ لَكَ وَلِقَوْمِكَ وَسَوْفَ تُسْأَلُونَ. وَإِنَّهُ, meaning this Quran is a mention of you and your people to the Prophet ﷺ. His people, وَسَوْفَ تُسْأَلُونَ, and you will be asked. The Tafseer of the ayat says, you will be asked about this hat, which is the Quran. You will be asked about the Quran in the day of judgment. How did you act according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from you? And the Quran is definitely the means of guidance. If a person is seeking guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, the thing between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the face of earth is the Quran. As the Prophet ﷺ said, أبشروا فإن القرآن طرفه عند الله طرفه بأيديكم من تمسك به فلن يضل بعده أبدا. Which means the Quran has 2 ends. This is what the Prophet ﷺ said. One end with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the other end is in your hands. And whoever holds fast to it, he will never be led astray after it whatsoever. So it depends on how strong the person is holding to the Quran. He will be guided and aided and supported and so on by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is what our duties towards the Quran: reciting, memorization, pondering, acting according to the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is one of the things that we need to do on weekly basis, daily basis. It has to be something regular, not something that is option whenever a person would have the time he would attend these things. Either a person has some means in which he would have to understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us to apply that. So the believers, they believe in the ghaib, as we heard last time. They establish the salah, and they spend from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides for them, and they believe in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought down to the Prophet ﷺ, and what brought before the Prophet ﷺ, all the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the messengers of Allah. وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ, and they believe in the hereafter. They have the certainty, and these are the ones that are guided, and these are the ones that are successful. Then after that, 2 verses talks about the disbelievers. 2 verses talks about the disbelievers, and then 13 verses talks about the hypocrites. As we heard last time, that this is basically all the human beings, either believers or disbelievers or hypocrites, those who would have inside of them disbelief and show iman or faith. And after all these verses that talks about the basic characteristics of the 3 groups, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call all mankind on verse number 21, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ اعْبُدُوا رَبَّكُمُ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُمْ وَالَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ O mankind, worship your Lord who created you and those who were before you, so that you may become among those who have taqwa, among the muttaqeen. So it's the call to be among the first group, after exposing all the different types of the human beings. And this is one of the ways of the Quran. If you read the Quran, you would see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His mercy, exposes the inside of the human beings and their outside actions and everything. And this is one of the great benefits, that you will get to see where you are, which group that you are with. And for the person to choose to be with those who are righteous, those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for them. And when you're reading the Quran, you would definitely, when you ponder over the verses of the Quran, you would see that I would love to be with this group, the group of the believers. How the verses talks about the believers and how good they are on the face of earth when it comes to understanding the purpose of their life, worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, dealing with others, dealing with themselves and so on. Then when you see the characteristics of the disbelievers or the hypocrites, so evil, that any human being with some decency and having the pure nature would definitely say, this is what I want to be. Then the evidence or the hujjah becomes very clear, no excuse afterwards. That's why the Quran makes the matter so clear for those who recite it and ponder over it, that you don't have an excuse, because you would agree that this is the best group, the righteous ones, with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you, with the means of understanding and so on. So this is what we need to do, and then what is left is to have the courage and the patience and the struggle and all the different means of worship to apply these characteristics and to stay away from the ways of the disbelievers and the hypocrites. Because again and again, it's not enough just to apply the characteristics of the believers. This is not enough. You will be affected. Unless you would do something, there's an action to be done to stay away from being among the disbelievers or among the hypocrites. So actions to be done to protect yourself. So this is also what we do. So these two verses talks about the disbelievers, and then many verses talks about the hypocrites, which shows the real enemies to the deen of Islam and to the Muslims are the hypocrites. And normally a believer would take precautions and means of protecting himself from the disbelievers, but the hypocrites, since they are mixed with the believers, nobody might not take precautions from them. So that's why the warnings from them is more exposing their affairs and their qualities, because if it's shown, that means this person, you have to be careful. You cannot make the rulings on that person that he becomes a disbeliever. This is not for you to do, because if he's claiming to be a Muslim and so on, but you are warned, if someone would show some of these characteristics, that you warn from them. Otherwise, what's the purpose of the verses? While Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed many verses about the hypocrites, for us to not to benefit from it? No. So that those who have these qualities, the Muslim group or the Muslim community or the righteous people, to take measures to avoid being affected by the real enemies to the Muslims everywhere at all times. So let's first mention the two verses that talks about the disbelievers. There's only two verses because the matter is so clear. If they are not believers, they are among the disbelievers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة ولهم عذاب عظيم. Which means, we'll read the translation and then we go over the verses. Verily those who disbelieve, it is the same to them whether you warn them or do not warn them. They will not believe. Allah has set a seal on their hearts and on their hearing, and on their eyes there is a covering. Theirs will be a great torment. And this is the two verses that are mentioned in this context about the disbelievers. Inna alladhina kafaru. Inna, when we see inna in the Quran or in the Arabic language, it's something that, as you see in the translation, says verily. Something to make very stressed, meaning very strong and stressed. Because if you say alladhina kafaru, sawa'un alayhim, the disbelievers, whether you warn them or not, and so on, it means the same thing, but inna would make it, there is no doubt, to make it very clear, right? And that's why in any language, and in the Arabic language, there are levels of making the matter so clear, especially if the listener, maybe he might be in doubt or the message might not reach him clearly. Right? If you say the disbelievers are this and that, a person would listen to it, but the effect of it is different when you would say verily, indeed, no doubt. So that would bring the attention, and the matter is so clear. And even in some verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would start the verses by swearing by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Although Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Most High, He is in no need to swear. Right? So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُوكَ فِيمَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ. No, nay, by your Lord. Nay, by your Lord, they would never believe till they make you, Prophet of Allah, a judge between them. And they won't find any unease in their hearts with your judgment, and they will submit themselves totally to your verdict or your judgment. The ayah, if you say, without فَلَا رَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ, or you would start with فَلَا رَبِّكَ, if a person would say, لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُوكَ, they will not believe till they make you, O Prophet of Allah, a judge between them. The meaning might to the listener be the same, but totally different. فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ, by your Lord, there is no way. Right? So the matter becomes clearer and clearer, and this is the most exclusive type of statement that you can say in the Arabic language. When you start the statement with negating something and then making the exception. Right? And I would believe this is the same thing in any language. That you say, no one is righteous except, for example, Brother Ahmed. Of course, this is something, maybe we should not say something like this. But it's different than you say, the only one righteous is Brother Muhammad or Ahmed or whatever. Right? So when you start with negating everything, except whatever the exception is, that makes it the most exclusive statement. So we have to pay attention to these types of verses in the Quran. So these types of verses, that means we need to put a great effort in it. That you will be challenged with your shaitan, with the pressure, with other people, right? So that's why this type of statement comes in the Quran, so that you don't have any doubt. Not doubt in the statements in the Quran, of course, but when it comes to your actions. So if someone is opposing you, and you know the way of the Prophet ﷺ, and someone is opposing that, and with beautifying the other ways and making it seem like it's part of the religion and so on and so forth, you remember this. They would never believe till they make you a Prophet of Allah, judge between them, so that will keep the Muslim always alert. So the same thing here, which is of course at a lesser level, but stating the fact that إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, no doubt, the disbelievers, الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, those who committed kufr and disbelief, and the word kafaru, linguistically, the word kufr means covering. And that's why the farmer or the tiler is called kafir. Not that he's a disbeliever, right? But because he covered the seed under the ground. And this is mentioned in the end of Surah Al-Fatih, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the example. كَمَثَلِ زَرْعٍ أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارَ نَبَاتُهُ ثُمَّ يَهِيجُ فَتَرَاهُ مُصْفَرًّا, explaining the ways of the Prophet's companions, radiallahu anhum. And he gave the example, كَمَثَلِ زَرْعٍ, it's like the parable, the example of Zara. Zara is cultivation. أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارِ, people reading this, أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارِ, meaning that the disbelievers were pleased with it. No, al-kuffar here means the farmers, or those who would plant the plants. And the word kuffar is mentioned, but it doesn't mean disbelievers, it means the farmers, those who would plant the plants and so on. So this is the literal meaning of it, and of course when you know the meanings of it linguistically, it gives you the sense of the religious meaning of it. The kuffar are kuffar because they cover the truth. The truth is covered, and what is shown is the opposite of that, which is falsehood. So basically the disbelief is the abnormalities of this life, is what is a disease. That people need to purify themselves and clean themselves from this. They're covering something. Their hearts are covered, right? And the truth is such a beautiful thing that when the person learn about it and get to know it, and the more the person learns about it, the more he will be steadfast on the truth, and the truth pushes away falsehood. And that's why also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He said in the Quran, giving the example of the truth and falsehood. Falsehood is so weak, right? But sometimes it seems very strong. It's because of the weakness of the people of the truth. Not because of the falsehood is strong, it's because of the weakness of those who are carrying the truth. If they are strong in their iman and their faith, nobody can ever oppose the truth whatsoever. وَالَّذِي أَرْسَلَ رَسُولَهُ بِالْهُدَى وَدِينِ الْحَقِّ لِيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that sent the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam with this religion, لِيُظْهِرَهُ, to make it superior over all religions. And it is superior till the Day of Judgment. How is that? Physically sometimes, and sometimes not, which is تِلْكَ الْأَيَامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. This is how the way of Allah. Sometimes people physically are superior, sometimes they are not. But it's always superior in matters of the hujjah, in matter of the evidence. And nobody can ever defeat the religion of Islam when it comes to ideologies, when it comes to debates and things like this. Nobody can defeat the truth. No one. Even if it's extreme times of weaknesses and oppression and so on, the evidence is the truth that is mentioned. Nobody can ever oppose it whatsoever with, mind to mind or, talk to talk and so on. And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is an ayah that can benefit us so much, that if the way for us to clean the falsehood from our hearts and to make the truth in it, read the Quran. Continue consistently, persistently, turn to the Quran, reading it, reciting it, get to know the meaning of it, apply it in your life. That pushes away the falsehood. The more you make your heart enter it, make what the Quran enters the hearts, the Quran goes into the heart and cleans the heart, and purify the hearts. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, أنزل من السماء ماء فسالت أودية بقدرها فاحتمل السيل زبدا رابيا ومما يوقدون عليه في النار ابتغاء حلية أو متاع زبد مثله فأما الزبد فيذهب جفاء وأما ما ينفع الناس فيمكث في الأرض كذلك يضرب الله الحق والباطل فأما الزبد فيذهب جفاء وأما ما ينفع الناس فيمكث في الأرض كذلك يضرب الله الحق بالباطل. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opposes the falsehood with the truth. Gave the example of the flood in the fields and the valleys and so on, that it pushes away the dirt, right? And the foam of it goes away, and what benefits the people stays on the land. And this example, this parable is given, as the ulama they say, with regards to the Quran. The Quran is the truth. And the falsehood, when the Quran is facing the falsehood and the person is reciting the Quran, this is what the Quran does to the heart, cleans the heart, takes the dirt out, and that what benefits would stay in it, and the person is taking the Quran seriously. Anyway, so that we don't take too much of the time. So, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, those who disbelieve, سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَأَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Whether you warn them or you do not warn them, they will not believe. What does that mean? It means guidance is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is for the disbelievers, those who died in the state of disbelief. Because when they're still alive, that means they're still alive for a reason. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving them a chance to get to know the truth and for them to be guided. And only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows who will be guided and who's not. And that's why for the human beings, for the believers, they don't separate between one or the other. They call everyone to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they do not know who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bestow His mercy on and guide him and so on. So this is with regards to those who would die in the state of disbelief. So whether you warn them or you don't warn them, they would not believe. But what is the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Prophet and to the Ummah of the Prophet is to warn, to give the glad tidings and to call them. يا أيها الرسول بلغ ما أنزل إليك من ربك وإن لم تفعل فما بلغت رسالته. That, O Messenger of Allah, بلغ, convey the message of your Lord. And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. And it means, يعني لا أحد أحسن قولا. There's nobody is better in speech than someone would call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and did righteous good deeds, and he would say, I am among the Muslims. Nobody is better than this. So calling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and doing righteous good deeds and saying, I am among the Muslims, meaning submitted myself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, and we know the life of the Prophet ﷺ, and after that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided those who were a'imma of kufr. They were leaders of the disbelievers, and they did so much of disbelief and atrocities and so on, and still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided them. Even in Surah Al-Buruj, this king that claimed to be the Rabb of the Alameen, the Lord of the Alameen, the one that killed all of his people, right, in the fire, as we know the story of the boy and the king and the sorcerer, which is in Surah Al-Buruj. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called him, or called the like of him, that if they repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would forgive them. What's the verse in Surah Al-Buruj? إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَتَنُوا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَتُوبُوا. فَتَنُوا الْمُؤْمِنَاتِ, meaning that they put them in the fire. It's referring to this king, when he got all the people in the same place and he killed the boy, right? And everybody says, "Amanna bi Rabbil Ghulam," we believe in the Lord of the Ghulam. And then he made the Hadid trenches in the ground, put the fire in it, and one by one, they make the fitna one by one. You disbelieve in the Lord of the Ghulam or the boy, or you will be thrown into the fire, and the whole village will steadfast, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, وَمَا نَقْمُ مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. They did not be angry with them or punish them, except because they believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala al-Aziz al-Hamid. So after all of this worst crimes that can ever be committed, and he's claiming to be the Rabb, right, still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَتَنُوا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ, those who tortured the believing men and women, ثُمَّ لَمْ يَتُوبُوا. The condition for the punishment, ثُمَّ لَمْ يَتُوبُوا فَلَهُمْ عَذَابُ جَهَنَّمَ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابُ الْحَرِيقِ. They have the punishment in Jahannam and the blazing fire, but with the condition that they did not repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the vast mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But those who would continue to be in the state of disbelief after the matter become clear to them, guidance is in the hands of Allah, and the job of the believers is to warn, and that also proves that the job of the messenger is to warn and to give the glad tidings, to warn those who would disbelieve and turn away after the matter has been explained to them, so that they would come in the day of judgment when the message has been explained and presented to them. Why they would not be believers, whether you warn them or you don't warn them? خَاتَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ وَعَلَى سَمْعِهِمْ وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. Allah has set a seal. خَاتَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ. And as we said yesterday or last time, the orders of the words in the verses gives you what needs to be stressed more. So it doesn't say that their hearts were sealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No, it says Allah sealed their hearts, right? And that gives a different effect in the hearts of the reciter of the Quran, that everything is in the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that everybody would turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all of their affairs, and one of which is guidance, which is the most important need, so that the person's heart is not sealed. When the heart is sealed, right, when you seal something, that means it would not leave it whatsoever. When coins are sealed, right, that means it would stay like this till whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. This is not something temporary. This is something that would stay for a long time. So when the hearts are sealed, that's it. They're deprived from seeing the truth because of their own actions. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَمَا زَاغُوا أَزَاغَ اللَّهُ قُلُوبَهُم. When they deviated, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made their hearts deviated. So the punishment is from the same sort of deed that a person do. And the opposite of that, when a person is seeking guidance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by His will would guide. If a person fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make the person comprehend the deen of Islam. اتقوا الله ويعلمكم الله. Fear Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will teach you. أن يعلم الله في قلوبهم خيرا يؤتكم خيرا مما أخذ منكم ويغفر لكم. If Allah knows what's in their hearts is good, Allah will give them better. So it's always the sincerity and the truthfulness. If it's there, then the physical actions become so easy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knows what's in the hearts. إن الله لا ينظر إلى صوركم ولا إلى أجسامكم ولكن ينظر إلى قلوبكم وأعمالكم. That Allah does not look at your bodies or the way that your appearance, but He looks into your hearts and your deeds. Not just the hearts, but the hearts and the deeds. So the hearts are the places where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees. So the question to each and every one of us, because this is a verse talking about the disbelievers, how is our hearts when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is witnessing what's in it. And when the verse is talking about the disbelievers, it is not just for them to be warned, it's also for the believers to be warned, so that they won't fall into the same evil that the disbelievers fell in. So ختم الله على قلوبهم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sealed their hearts. That means they do not have the ability now to see what is right and what is wrong. And no matter how smart they are, no matter what they do, it's because of the evil that they did. On the level of the Muslims, the same meanings is true. Although the person can still stay in the state of Islam, but he would have his heart sealed from seeing, for example, some of the truth because of the sins. Person committing sins or innovating in the deen of Islam and continuously doing so after the matter becomes clear to the person, and continuously doing so without repenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that can lead to the same effect. And once a person reaches that state, he doesn't feel the pain anymore when it comes to committing sins. He enjoys the sins. And that's why this level, if a person falls into the enjoyment of the life of a sin, this is more dangerous than the sin itself. Because that takes a person away, further away, more and more, and it's a sin by itself that needs for the person to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from. The believers, when they fall into the sin, they feel pain. So why do they commit the sins? A moment of weakness, but they feel the pain of it, right? And they immediately, afterwards, they repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But someone enjoy the life of sin, this is a bad sign, and still repentance is valid, but it's a bad sign. It makes it more difficult for the person. That's why the person needs to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are many hadith about this, in the level of the good deeds and the bad deeds and so on. Whoever leaves Salatul Jum'ah 2 times intentionally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would seal his heart. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كَلَّا بَلْ رَانَ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ, that the ran, which is the covering on their hearts, is because of what they earned. So whatever the person earns, this will affect the heart, either purifying the heart or causing the heart to be sealed. And the meaning of being sealed, don't have the ability to see what is right and what is wrong, to be away from guidance. خَاتَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ وَعَلَى سَمْعِهِمْ وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ. Depends where you stop. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sealed their hearts, and on their hearing and their sights, there is covering. Ghishawa. The ghishawa is something like a sheet you have in front of you that prevents you from seeing. So this is to them when it comes to hearing and seeing. Physically, they hear very well and they see very well, but they're not hearing the truth and they're not seeing things in the proper way. They don't have the proper vision in it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that in the Quran, in many places in the Quran, ordering the people to look into the ayat of Allah, to the heavens and the earth. Everybody sees it, but nobody gets affected by it. The eyes and the ears and hearts are mentioned here, right? The heart is the king. And if the heart is sound and pure, everything else becomes sound and pure, and all the organs of the human beings are soldiers to the heart. And if the heart is wicked and evil, everything else will be wicked and evil also. But the relationship between the eyes and ears to the heart, these are the main 2 paths or passages to the heart. So anything that a person sees goes into the heart. Anything that we hear goes to the heart. Either it would clean the heart or it would pollute it more. So when a person sees what is right, sees the ayat of Allah, looks at the heavens and the earth, but a different look, not the look that is state of forgetfulness. Like a look that would, for a person to ponder over the creation of Allah. It makes the person humble over when he sees the magnificent creation of Allah, and he would say Subhanallah, or think of the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This type of look enters the heart and cleans the heart and increases the iman. Person look into the Quran. This looking into the Quran is an act of worship, by the way. Looking at the Quran and reciting from it, this is by itself is an act of worship. As Imam Nawawi rahimahullah mentioned in his book At-Tibyan fi Adab Hamalat al-Quran. That's why the Quran has rights on us to recite from the Quran. This is something that should be done, even if you have the whole Quran memorized. by heart and you recite it from the beginning to the end without looking in the Quran, you still should have a time daily that you look into the Quran. And another time where you memorize from memory and so on. So, looking at things, if a person looks at sins, the sins go straight to the heart and cause it to be polluted. And there are many hadiths about this. It gives the dots in the hearts. So to the extent of which that the person, if he continues, if he repents to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it washes away the heart. If the person continues to commit the sins, and the sin makes the sin afterwards easier, right? And it makes it more difficult for the repentance the more the person continues. Till the hearts become two types of hearts, as the Prophet ﷺ said. Aswad mubaddan kalkuzi mujakhir, totally dark and full of impurities, like the inverted cup. Nothing stays in it. You try to put Quran in it, you try to put wisdom in it, it's inverted. And the other one is the white heart that is clean from all forms of fitan, because the heart is the wi'a, is the container of all means of goodness. So the heart is the container of the Quran and the wisdom and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and so on. So the effect of the hearing and the seeing for the human being, that's what pollutes the hearts. And that's why they become with rishawa, because their hearts are sealed, right? So they cannot see and hear properly. So it's a two-way effect. The eyes and the ears pollutes the hearts, and if the heart is sealed, then the eyes and the ears become with a covering on them. They hear the truth, but they don't make sense of it, because they block the way to understanding and comprehending the truth, because the heart is sealed. The container of all means of understanding to be a believer is already been blocked because of their own earnings again, because of their own injustice. So this is the worst punishment that can happen to a human being on the face of earth. So that when somebody would ask, how come these believers and tyrants and this and that, they do whatever they want, and they're still living and eating and drinking and enjoying, there's no punishment for them. And for those who are believers and righteous and so on, and are suffering and so on, a person asking this question does not understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in the Quran. The worst punishment is when the person is deprived from being guided to the truth. Because how long would that person live enjoying and happy and so on? A few years and then he dies? Everlasting misery, everlasting punishment. So the worst punishment, if you understand the purpose of our life, if you understand that the most important and the most precious thing is to be guided, the worst punishment is when the person is deprived from being guided. When the person's heart is sealed, he becomes like a dumb person, does not understand anything, does not see the truth. So he would continue like this, right? And the truth becomes something, he would ridicule it. Look down at the people of the truth, makes him worse and worse in the path of injustice, in the path of disbelief, till he died in that state. And that's the worst punishment that would happen to a person. So the sins, when a person commits sins, and he doesn't find lightning from the skies killing him, right? And he thinks that he's good, Allah is pleased with him. Why? Because there's no lightning from the skies comes and kills him. There's no earthquakes and takes him down into the earth. He doesn't see punishment right away. He commits sins, and he do whatever he wants. He does not understand that the worst punishment is for him to continue to do this, and wealth will be increased for him. And more abundance of all the things that he seeks will be given to him. This is the worst punishment. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ called it, al-istidraj. And we talked about it before, when a person is taken step by step to their own destruction without knowing. There are no warnings for them. Why? Because of what their own earnings. And the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُ اللَّهَ يُعْطِي الْعَبْدِ وَهُوَ مُقِيمٌ عَلَى مَعْصِيَتِهِ فَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ ذَلِكَ مِنَ الْإِسْتِدْرَاجِ. Hadith Muslim Ahmad, hadith Sahih. That if you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving the person from this dunya, and that person is muqim, he is established on the sins, right? He does not leave it. The more he do this, the more he is given. Opposite to what people might think, right? People with their desires, they think, if I'm a believer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bestow all the physical bounties on me. I'll be the richest man in the world. I'll have all what I need, right? And if I disbelieve, I will have a miserable life. If this is the case, this is a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to you. Great ni'mah. If a person commits a sin and he sees the effect of it right away physically, if he does not repent to Allah. Why? Because this can be a reason for him to go back and to repent. If he did not choose to repent when he's at times of ease, then calamity comes. And this is the same and an effect also for the Muslim Ummah in large. If the Muslim Ummah is not repenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in large like this, right, and they know that they need to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they know that they are disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the calamities when it comes in the form of a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unto them, so that they will repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then. Right? Because when people are in times of distresses, they turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, or they should turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So this proper understanding definitely is something that we have to have in our hearts, so that when the effect of the sins is far worse than what we think, just a sin versus a good deed, well, the real punishment is to be deprived from guidance. When a person is deprived from the night prayer, which is an optional salah, why he is not able to make the night prayer? It's because of our own actions. It's not necessarily because of the alarm clock or this or that. Right? Abdullah ibn Mubarak, rahimahullah, when someone asked him, I cannot get up for the Qiyamul Layl, I cannot get up for the night prayer. What did he answer? He did not tell him, well, brother, you need to sleep early. Right? Maybe you're whatever. He told him, كَبَرَتْكَ خَطِيئَتُكَ. He told them that your sin changed you down. You changed by your sins. Right? Can we figure it out physically? Not everything we know physically. You can set the biggest alarm there is. Right? You can get somebody to force you to get up. But you won't be able to do it unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you the permission to do that, and that is when the hearts are pure. That's why the salah, when it seems to be very heavy, right? We need to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and constantly ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. And imagine then obligatory Salatul Fajr, for example. It's valid that a person will oversleep one day. This is absolutely fine, and the Prophet ﷺ said, مَنْ نَامَ عَنْ صَلَاةٍ أَوْ نَسِيَهَا فَصَلَاتُهُ حِينَ يَذْكُرُهَا. Whoever oversleeps in a salah and forgets it, he prays it right when he remembers it. But this is once in a while. But when a person sees himself one day after another, he's missing Salatul Fajr, for example, right? This is a sign, this is a bad sign that makes the believer's day become terrified. Maybe this is the path of al-istidraj. This is might be I get ruined in this. So they will turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Take the means, and always the easiest way to check what's in our hearts. Make yourself a little exam with matters of dunya. Right? If the night prayer, which is an optional, nothing compared to the Fajr Salah. Imagine the Fajr Salah, you are given millions of dollars every day you come for the Fajr Salah. How would the night be for that person? He would be awake the whole night. Right? And people will be lined up outside the masajid. If it's even $5, people will do this. Right? So why? Because the dunya is very clear into the hearts of the people. But as we heard in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, what is the first quality of the believers? الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. Those who believe in the unseen. So this is the real test. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed us the reward, that you would get it in the hereafter. So worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. رَكَعْتَيِ الْفَجْرِ خَيْرٌ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا وَفِيهَا. The two rak'ah of Sunnat al-Fajr, not even the Fard, is better than this whole world and whatever it contains. Unless we have this level of certainty, the whole world and whatever it contains, if you try to calculate how much there is, you cannot even comprehend it. Right? The two rak'ah of Sunnat al-Fajr is better than all of that. So if this certainty is there, then things will become clearer to us. So we have to be warned from this issue of the hearts being sealed. And then the eyes and ears will have this covering. The disbelievers that are totally sealed, totally covering. For a Muslim, it depends on how much the sins are and how much a person is righteous. There might be some covering on the eyes, some covering on the ears, and the hearts become sealed in that level. So that's why the person will be persistently committing sin and doesn't want to quit or whatever. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. For the disbelievers, they have severe punishment, meaning in the day of judgment and in this life if they continue by this worst punishment. And that is to be, their hearts to be sealed, their eyes and ears to be covered and so on. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to purify our hearts and to protect us from this khatm on the hearts, which is the sealing of the heart, the cement of the heart that prevent the person from being guided and from seeing the truth. And then after that, inshallah ta'ala, the different verses that talks about the hypocrites. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam wa Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi.